At my sister's birthday brunch, she toasted loudly. To me, and to people who know how to stay in their lane. Everyone looked my way. I lifted my mimosa and said, to people who now have 30 days to find a new apartment, since I just sold the condo you live in. Silence. Then her fork hit the plate. And my mom whispered, what did you do? I just took a sip and said, what still amazes me, no matter how many times it happens, is the sheer selfishness of my family. Like, not the small kind where someone eats your leftovers or forgets your birthday. I mean the kind where people will take whatever they want from you, smile while doing it, and then act offended when you finally say no. I used to think maybe it was just bad communication, or that I was too sensitive. But this brunch ended any doubt I had. Claire's birthday brunch. That's where it all cracked open. I showed up already drained, knowing this wasn't going to go well. Claire had insisted on hosting it at our mom's house. For ambience. Which really just meant free alcohol and someone else to clean up. She was wearing all white like she was getting married, and she was already a few glasses deep by the time I arrived. The moment I walked in, I could tell something was off. Claire had that smirking confidence she gets when she thinks she's about to win something. Mike was chasing their toddler around like he was dodging landmines, and our mom was sipping Bellinis like it was noon on a cruise ship. I took a seat, nodded at my cousins, Emma and Jared, two of the few people in the family who still live in reality, and poured myself a mimosa. I tried not to think about the apartment. 6 months ago, I let Claire and Mike move into the condo I bought to rent out. They were desperate, she said. They'd been evicted, Mike was between jobs, daycare was too expensive. She cried on the phone, told me they just needed 2 months. I said fine. But 2 turned into 4. Then 6. No rent, just utilities, which they even struggled with. Meanwhile, I was eating the HOA fees, the property taxes, and every opportunity one had to earn from that place. And they just kept saying, we're almost there. And still, I kept quiet. Until the toast. Claire stood up, glass in hand, swaying a little. Everyone quieted down. She smiled at the room and said, to me, and to people who know how to stay in their lane. Then she looked directly at me. Everyone else looked too. Even the kids stopped babbling. I couldn't believe it. I'd let her live in my condo rent-free for half a year, and she had the nerve to throw shade at me during her toast. So I lifted my mimosa. To people who now have 30 days to find a new apartment, since I just sold the condo you live in. The silence was so loud it was almost funny. Then Claire's fork clattered onto her plate. Mom leaned toward me and whispered, what did you do? I took a sip. What I did, Mom, was finally take my life back. I'd stayed quiet for too long. I bought that condo as an investment, not a favor. I was already planning to sell it, and use the money for a down payment on a place out of state, somewhere without this level of dysfunction. I gave them more than enough time. More than enough patience. And this is what I got. Dad muttered, seriously, Andrew? Like I'd shot someone at the table. You've had 6 months, I said. I didn't make a scene. I didn't even tell you when I listed it. But I'm not your safety net anymore. Claire's voice cracked. You're selling the apartment? Without even talking to us? I gave you a roof over your head for free, I said. You toasted to people staying in their lane. Well, I'm switching highways. Mike finally spoke up, trying to calm everything down, but Mom was already on a rant about how I always picked the worst moments to make a point, and how this was supposed to be a family celebration. You could have waited until tomorrow, she said. And she could have kept my name out of her mouth, I said. But here we are. Emma just stared at her plate. Jared looked like he was trying not to laugh. Claire stood up. So what, we're homeless now? No, I said. You have 30 days. I even planned to help you with first month's rent. I was going to tell you that today. But after this, you'll need to figure it out on your own. Panic started rippling through the room. Voices got louder. Dad swore. Mom spilled her drink. Claire stormed off to the kitchen, and Mike followed like a kicked puppy. I stood up and said, Happy birthday, then walked out. Emma and Jared came after me in the driveway. Emma said, That was brutal. Jared added, But fair. I nodded. This was just the beginning. The next morning, I woke up to 20 missed calls. Claire, Mom, even Mike, who hadn't called me once in 6 months, had suddenly remembered my number. There were voice messages too, all with the same fake calm that people use when they're trying not to scream. I ignored every one of them. By noon, the messages turned aggressive. Claire accused me of being heartless. Mike said I was destabilizing their son's life. Mom left a long voicemail crying about family unity and asking how I could do this to my own blood. It was almost impressive how fast they turned me into the villain. Emma texted me. "You okay?" I wrote back. "Surprisingly, yeah. I actually feel fine." She replied. "Good. They're all losing it. Claire said she's calling a lawyer." LOL. That part didn't surprise me. Claire always thinks a dramatic threat will make people fold. But there's nothing illegal about selling your own property. She had no lease, no agreement. Just a favor stretched too far. By day 3, they were showing up. First, Mike came to my office. He looked like he hadn't slept, and instead of starting with anything close to an apology, he opened with, "You blindsided us." I told him that's funny, because 6 months of empty promises kind of blindsided me. He shifted gears fast, said they just needed a little more time, 2 months max, said they'd start paying rent immediately, or at least try. I told him the deal was done. Condo's under contract. Inspections next week. It's out of my hands. Then came the desperation. He actually asked if I could back out of the sale. Said maybe we could work something out as a family. He even offered to pay me under the table once things got better. I laughed. "What part of this makes you think I trust you with anything anymore?" He left after that, muttering something about me letting money change me. As if I hadn't been carrying them on my back for half a year. The next night, Claire showed up at my apartment. She didn't even knock. Just started yelling the second I opened the door. "How could you humiliate me like that in front of everyone?" "You humiliated yourself," I said. "You made me look like a fool. You were drunk and obnoxious. Don't blame me for calling you out." That set her off. She started listing every petty thing I've ever done wrong in our lives, from stealing her Halloween candy when we were kids to not showing up for her baby shower on time. It was pathetic. Finally, I told her flat out, "You have a week and a half. I suggest you start packing." She screamed that she wasn't going back to live with our parents. That was the first I'd heard that option even on the table. "You're not staying in my place, and you're not staying with me," I said. "Figure it out." She stormed off, swearing she'd never speak to me again. Which was fine by me. Later that night, Mom called. Drunk. I could tell by the way she kept repeating herself. She said things like, "You don't do this to your own sister," and, "If your father were sober enough to talk, he'd tell you the same." Then she slipped up and said what I think she really meant. "You think you're better than us because you've got your little job and your money and your rental properties. But don't forget who changed your diapers." I hung up. Because that's the thing. They always talk about family when they need something. But when I need space, or respect, or even a basic thank you, it's radio silence. Emma and Jared invited me out the next day. We got drinks, didn't talk about the family drama much. Just laughed, caught up, reminded each other we weren't crazy. But I knew it wasn't over. Claire wasn't going to go quietly. And I was ready for whatever came next. By the 4th day, I started getting texts from unknown numbers. One was from Mike's brother, who I hadn't spoken to in years. It just said, "Man, really messed up what you did to Claire and the kid. Cold." Another from some friend of hers I barely knew. "You really putting a baby on the street?" Wow. That's how far it had gone already. Claire was out there spinning the story, playing the victim like she'd been blindsided by a greedy landlord cousin who suddenly flipped on his own family. She didn't mention the 6 free months or the 3 different times I offered to help them move into something else. She definitely didn't mention the part where I still planned to help with their first month's rent, until she toasted to me staying in my lane. Then Mom started calling again. Only this time, she wasn't drunk. She said they were all coming over to talk things out. I said no. She said it wasn't a request. So when they showed up that evening, I wasn't surprised. Claire, Mike, Mom, and even Dad, still in his work uniform, smelling like old beer and gasoline. We sat in the living room like strangers. Claire started right away. "We need 60 days. "No. Legally, we can contest this," Mike added. "You're not tenants. You never were. You're not contesting anything." Mom jumped in. "If you're going to kick them out, the least you can do is help them land somewhere safe." I was going to, I said. But I'm not giving handouts to people who insult me. And not on her schedule. Dad, who hadn't said much yet, leaned forward and said, You're being petty. I looked at him. You've been drunk since Wednesday. He stood up, wobbled a little. So what, I'm a bad father now. We're bad people? That what you think? I don't think it. I've watched it. For years. Claire went quiet. That one hit. 30 days is generous. I continued. I already have an agent helping find something in their budget. I was even going to cover a deposit and the first month's rent. But I'm done doing that for people who can't even treat me like a human being. Mike looked ready to blow. You seriously don't care what happens to your nephew? I do, I said. That's why I gave you 6 months. That's why I'm offering to help. But this whole setup ends now. Mom shook her head. This family's broken. No, I said. It's just not bending around you anymore. They left in a storm of mumbled curses and slamming doors. The next morning, I got an email from a rental agency saying Mike had applied for a place, with me listed as a reference. I called them immediately and told the truth. He was a family member living rent-free, with no payment history. The agent sounded surprised but thanked me for the honesty. That afternoon, Claire called and screamed into the phone, accusing me of sabotaging them. You told the truth? She yelled. Try it sometime, I said. Then I hung up. I called Emma later. She said Claire was spiraling, talking about going to live with Mom and Dad. Just for a few weeks. That'll go well, Emma said. I'll give them 10 days before someone ends up on the lawn. We laughed. For a second, it felt normal. But the damage was done. They weren't moving out peacefully. They were going to drag this down to the wire. By day 11, I stopped sleeping well. Every time I turned my phone on silent, I'd wake up to voicemails, Claire crying, Mike cursing, Mom guilt-tripping. I kept ignoring them. But then something strange happened. The buyer's real estate agent called me in a panic. Andrew, we got a weird message from the current residents, she said. They told our inspector the place has a mold problem and might be unsafe for children. I almost dropped my phone. There's no mold. I had the place inspected 6 months ago before they moved in. It's in great shape. Claire and Mike were trying to sabotage the sale. I called her immediately. She picked up sounding like she was waiting for it. You told the inspector there's mold? She didn't even deny it. We were just being honest. It's not healthy for kids, I said. If there was mold, why didn't you mention it in the past 6 months? Or ask me to fix it? Silence. I'll tell you what's unhealthy, I said. Staying rent-free and thinking you can manipulate the sale of a property you don't own. Then I hung up and called my lawyer. He assured me it wouldn't stop the sale, but warned me they could try other things, like refusing to leave or trashing the place. So I did something unexpected. I showed up at the condo. Unannounced. Mike opened the door with a face like he'd just seen a repo man. Claire was in the living room pretending not to notice me. The kid was asleep on the couch. I walked in, looked around. The place was clean, but too clean. Like they were trying to make it look staged, to buyers, maybe to pretend it was theirs. I need to walk through for the final inspection, I said. It's happening in 3 days. I suggest you start packing. Mike tried to block me from walking into the second bedroom. You don't live here, he said. No, but I own here. I pushed past him and saw something that made me stop. Claire had started painting the walls. Beige. Terrible, splotchy beige. One wall was half finished, the other was still wet. You painting my walls? I asked. We were just trying to freshen it up, Claire called out. I took a photo. You know that's vandalism, right? You don't have my permission. This isn't your apartment. Mike looked panicked. We were going to paint it back before we left. I'm sure you were. I walked out and texted the buyer's agent the photo with a quick note, they're painting. Without permission. I'll handle it. Then I sent Claire and Mike a formal 7-day vacate notice, even though the 30-day notice was already in place. That night, Jared sent me a screenshot. Claire had posted a photo on Facebook of her standing in the apartment with the caption, "When your own brother sells your home out from under you, broke a heart." The comments were full of sympathy. People who had no clue. People saying, "You deserve better," and "How could he do that to a child?" I didn't respond. But I saved every comment. Because now it wasn't just manipulation. It was public lies. Then came the last twist. Emma called me in a whisper. "You're not gonna believe this," she said. "Mom told them they could move in. Like, move into her house." I laughed. "They are," she added. "Sunday." "Seriously?" "Yeah. And she's acting like she's the hero, rescuing them from your cruelty." "Of course." I hung up and sat with it for a minute. They were finally leaving. I should have felt relieved. But all I could think about was what they were planning next. They left on a Sunday afternoon. Quietly, without drama, no final confrontation, no screaming match. Just a cold, distant goodbye I didn't even witness. I found out from Emma, who texted me. "They're out. Finally." The key was left at the front desk of my building. No note, no thank you, not even a text. 6 months rent-free. 6 months of broken promises. And now, nothing. I drove to the condo that night. I half expected to find it trashed out of spite. They tried everything else, painting the walls without permission, lying about mold to the buyer, dragging my name through Facebook like I was some kind of villain. But the place was intact. Mostly. They'd taken everything that mattered to them, TV, furniture, clothes, but left all the inconvenient stuff. A broken crib leaning against the wall. A toddler's sock collection scattered like confetti in the closet. A stained rug rolled up and shoved into the second bedroom. Claire's favorite mug, best mom ever, was chipped and still sitting on the counter. They also left a half-full trash bag, a sticky fridge full of expired yogurt and takeout containers, and an open box of granola bars on the floor like the apocalypse came, and no one cleaned up. I found a toddler's drawing taped to the bathroom mirror, stick figures with "family" written across the top in shaky purple marker. It hit me harder than I expected. Not because I missed them, but because of how much I had let this get to me. How much space they'd taken up in my mind, my time, my money. I bought this place as an investment, something for my future. They'd turned it into a burden and made me feel guilty for wanting it back. No more. The buyer's agent came the next morning. She glanced around and said, "Honestly, I expected worse after everything you described." I told her they'd already done their damage, just not to the walls. The inspection passed without issue. Sale closed that Friday. I signed the last document, and within hours, the wire hit my account. More money than I'd ever seen in one place. It should have felt amazing. Instead, I sat at my kitchen table and stared at it, thinking, why does this feel more like relief than victory? That same day, I got a call from Mom. I knew I shouldn't answer, but I did. Her voice was tight and sharp. "They came here with nothing. We had to buy groceries. The baby's screaming all night, and Mike's sleeping on the floor. You told them they could stay," I said. "You forced them here. Where else were they supposed to go? They had 6 months to figure that out. I gave them time, warnings, and offers. They ignored all of them." Then she dropped the real reason for her call. "Claire's talking about pulling the kid out of daycare. Says they can't afford it now. She says you won't help anymore." "I won't. She's your sister. And I was her landlord. Her very generous, very patient landlord. I stopped being her ATM the moment she stood up at brunch and toasted to me staying in my lane. She was drunk. She was honest." Silence. Then she hung up. That night, Jared messaged me. "FYI, you're officially the villain. Family meetings are half about what you did and half about what you owe everyone." I replied. "Let them build a statue. I'm moving next week." And I did. Put an offer on a place in a smaller city 3 states away. Quiet neighborhood, no family nearby, and a park 2 blocks down. My offer was accepted within 24 hours. I didn't throw a goodbye party. Didn't send out a change of address card. Just started packing. The night before the move, I sat alone in my apartment with a beer, looking around the empty walls. 6 months ago, I let my sister in thinking it would help her get back on her feet. All it did was remind me that some people don't want stability. They want someone else to carry the weight, while they pretend they're standing tall. The truth is, Claire and Mike weren't ungrateful just once. They were ungrateful every single day they stayed in that condo, and never once said thank you. So no, I wasn't sad to leave. I was just done. I moved out on a Thursday morning. Loaded my car with what I needed and had the rest sent ahead by a moving company. No goodbyes, no last visits. I didn't tell anyone the address, not Mom, not Claire, not even Jared. Only Emma knew. She helped me find the realtor. She earned it. The drive felt like exhaling for the first time in years. No more surprise visits. No more calls about just needing a little help. No more watching my sister play the victim while draining everyone around her. But it didn't end just because I left. 4 days after I arrived in the new city, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. It was Claire. "Hope you're happy," she said. "You've completely destroyed this family. Mom says it's like you died. No one even wants to say your name right now." There was a pause, and then she added, "Anyway, Mike has a line on a part-time thing. And we're thinking about trying to get our own place again. Don't worry, we're not asking you for anything. We know better now." She hung up. I didn't call back. A week later, Emma texted me. "Mom's exhausted. Claire's still there. Mike's job fell through. They're sleeping in the living room. Dad's drinking more. How long before they ask for money again?" I asked. "Claire won't. She's too proud. Mom might. Give it a month." 2 weeks passed. Then came the group message. A family chat that hadn't been used in over a year suddenly lit up again with a photo of my nephew at a park. Claire sent it. "Look who's doing great despite all the drama, Rehart." Jared responded with a thumbs up. Emma didn't say anything. Then Mom wrote, "Would be nice if everyone could put the past behind us." And I knew exactly what that meant. She wanted me to come crawling back. Pretend the last 6 months hadn't happened. Pretend the brunch never happened. Pretend the lies, the manipulation, the painting of my walls without permission, the mold story, all of it, could be swept under the rug for the sake of family. So I said nothing. 2 days later, Emma called. "You're not crazy," she said. "They want you back in their orbit. Because without you, they're stuck with each other. And it's miserable. I'm not going back. I know. Just wanted to remind you, you did the right thing." Now it's been a month. I walk to the park in the mornings. Make coffee without interruptions. No banging on my door. No late-night voicemails. And yet, every now and then, I check my phone, half expecting another guilt trip. They're probably still talking about me. Still blaming. Still waiting for me to come home and fix things. But I'm not going back. Not because I don't care. Because I finally do. About myself. The update. It's been just over 3 months since I left. Emma came to visit last weekend. First time anyone from the family's seen my new place. She brought a housewarming gift and said, "I still can't believe you actually did it." We sat on the balcony and talked. She said Claire and Mike are still at Mom's. Still fighting. Mike's been through 2 job interviews, no offers. Claire started a side hustle selling handmade toddler clothes online. She's posting those vague quotes now, Emma said, laughing. Like, sometimes God removes people from your life to protect your peace. I think I'm the people, I said. Mom's health isn't great. Stress, mostly. Emma said she won't admit it, but she's overwhelmed. She started calling Jared at night just to vent. And yet, no one's apologized. Not once. Not a call. Not a text. Not a message that says, "Hey, maybe we messed up too." Just silence, and the occasional Facebook post aimed at me through passive-aggressive quotes. Meanwhile, I sleep better. My new neighbors are quiet. I joined a local gym. I started looking at buying a second property, one I'll actually rent to strangers this time. People who pay on time. And say thank you?